Good evening to everyone. Today is Monday, September 21st, 2020, and welcome to tonight's New London City Council meeting. City Clerk Ayala, can you do the roll call, please?
President Dominguez,
Present.
President Pro Tem Natartes,
Present.
Councilor Burke,
Present.
Councilor Goodwin,
Present.
Councilor Dice,
Present.
Councilor Booker Jr.,
Present.
Councilor Sadai. 6 present.
Okay, thank you very much. This is President Dominguez speaking. Just want to welcome the mayor, also department heads for ODP, Felix Reyes, Tom Bombria, any other department head that's on today. And of course, our wonderful residents who are on today. Okay. Councilor Sadi's not on. I know he was having an issue last time with his internet, so I'm gonna go and take care of the. Oh, he's on. Is that him? Councilor Sadi, welcome. Just in time. So at this moment, I'm gonna ask Councilor Sadi to do the prayer and the pledge. I wonder if you can you hear me?
Can you hear me now?
Yes, I can. Go ahead. You got it, sir. Pray and pledge.
Dear Lord, bless this council, bless our great city and our great nation. In these trying times where we've lost such a leader as Ruth Bader Ginsburg, please bless her and her soul. Also, please give our Senate and our president guidance to fulfill and fill her shoes with somebody as good, if not better than she was. In this Christ, Lord, I ask your mercy. Amen. At this point in time, I would like to ask for the American flag to be put up on the screen, please. If we would all rise. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Councilor Dominguez, if you wouldn't mind leading us in the Pledge of Allegiance in Spanish.
Thank you, sir. This is President Dominguez. I prometo lealtad a la bandera de los Estados Unidos de América, a la república que representa una nación ante Dios indivisible, con libertad y justicia para todos.
Thank you very much.
Okay, this is President Dominguez. Thank you, Councilor Sadi, for the prayer and for the pledge. At this time, let me just read quickly just the logistics. Due to the ongoing national and state public health caused by the global coronavirus pandemic, City of New London, public meetings will be held virtually. Meetings agendas can be found at www.newlondonc.org. An audio recording of this meeting will be posted on the city website 7 days of the meeting. Public comment may be submitted in writing to jstarts@newlondonct.org. If you prefer, you may sign up to speak at the following link on the City of New London website, newlondonct.org/live-stream. This link will bring you to a fillable form where you may submit your name and you will be added to the public comment list and called on via Zoom during the public comment portion of the meeting. Public comment must be submitted in writing or your name submitted on the fillable sign-up form on the city website at least 15 minutes prior to the scheduled start time of the meeting. Please include your address in your written public comment submission. Okay, so at this time, I am going to be quickly going over there's no public hearings. Okay, also minutes of the previous meeting. I need a motion for that, please.
Make a motion to approve the meetings of the minutes of the September 8th, 2020 City Council meeting.
Counselor Dice seconded.
Thank you. Any further discussion on this? Anything else? All right, seeing none, let's vote on it. All those in favor say aye.
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 Those opposed say nay. Okay, the motion carries. Just to remind all the councilors, again, this is President Dominguez speaking. Make sure when you are addressing or speaking that you state your name for the record, all right? Whether you're commenting or whether you have a question. That goes for anyone else that will be participating here tonight. So they could be noted for the record. So again, thank you very much. Let's continue at this time. It is public comment. I have two people on public comment that were able to sign up prior to that time, and I will call on them right now. Just make sure you state your name, your address, and then you'll be allotted 3 minutes to share your comment. And I believe they're both going to be read. I'm going to read one, and also Councilor Goodwin will be reading the other one.
Efren, if it's okay, I'd like to read my own comment.
Oh, okay. Who's this?
This is Mia Moore.
Oh, Mayor Moore, of course. All right. So at this time, I'm going to have, go ahead. I'm going to have you read it. Make sure again, just state your name, your address, and then City Clerk Ayala will give you the 3 minutes. He'll give you a 1 minute warning. And then of course, when you have 10 seconds.
Okay.
All right. Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Mia Moore. I'm at 202 Coleman Street, New London, Connecticut, 06320. I had a disappointing contact with economic planning and development recently. The information and assistance for my business needs have been ignored, and the requests for resources have been very difficult to ascertain through Tom Bumbria. All help for information or resolutions to my concerns have been stifled in my attempts to communicate over the past few months with Tom. I have been unsatisfied with the results. Separately, there is actually a restricted access to a critical community resource or membership at the Spark organization there in New London on, I believe it's on State Street. It has prevented further development of my proposal that I previously discussed with the council, to the city council and to the mayor regarding my device that limits the transmission of COVID-19, a wearable device that actually will vibrate once you go past the area that you should in touching your face. I think it's a very cool device that should be presented, at least considered. But the current conflict between myself and Tom Bumbria then prevents me from having healthy, productive, and meaningful conversations and networking opportunities when I'm abruptly blocked from the basic right to discuss funding, small business projects, and opportunities with the economic and planning coordinator. Being the role that this person holds is interconnected with the community, individuals, businesses, and resources in New London. I would like feedback from the council as to how to proceed further with helping the community without support, positive or productive communication with appointed positions and members at City Hall who seemingly should be eager to assist the business owner who has skills and assets to add in to New London community. In addition to this public comment, I would like to be contacted by the mayor's office in regards to this concern that can be easily remedied with effective communication, patience, and consideration for all races, creed, color, nationality, gender, and have equal and fair opportunities for the community. Thank you very much.
You're more than welcome. This is President Dominguez. Thank you, Mia. At this moment, I'm going to ask Councilor Goodwin to read the next public comment.
This is from Jennifer Kolba. I do not see an address, so forgive me, but I will read it. Dear City Council, I, Jennifer Kolba, am a concerned resident of New London and writing to you about ongoing gatherings at gas stations / convenience stores, which at times poses threats within our community. I am hopeful that the council can establish a plan to be enforced across the city for safety of our residents. I live in the vicinity of Bank Street, Honeybee Farms Market, and Sam's. Over the past 2 months, I've seen over 4 fights start, all stemming from that area. 2 of the fights were within a week of each other and appeared as though the same individual instigated both. The most recent fight of the night of September 12th, and the police showed up. They let the 3 individuals who happened to be college students and started the fight walk away. Within 5 minutes of the police arriving, I saw them harassing another individual as he was trying to walk away. The concerns go beyond the incidents that I've seen at this location. There have been gatherings at other gas stations, convenience stores, such as the recent shootings at H&T Mini Mart / Deli. These gatherings and physical altercations are not anything new within our community. This puts the business owners at risk as there are potential liabilities. I have noticed that there are no soliciting signs at some of these locations, but have yet to see police take action. When talking amongst others within the community after such events occur, I am often hearing similar responses, especially those who grew up in New London. It's nothing new. What do you expect? It's nothing new. I am not surprised. Comments like these illustrate negative images and do not reflect well on the city. With school back in session, there are more children out during the day walking to and from school. With the youth see other gatherings outside the venues worse than that, the altercations, they could begin to think it's something that is normal and acceptable and could eventually become involved in altercations or victimized by what happens there. My hope is that this plan can be implemented that include additional measures to gatherings, statistics of such events to better help the police department identify trends, time, day, individuals involved, which will allow them to ensure that there is police presence, within the area. The city can budget to install more cameras that are actively recording at and around these target locations. I am very disappointed and concerned with the lack of presence of the New London Police Department at or near these venues to deter violent behavior, and I strongly feel that it is time for the council to get involved and to take immediate action on this matter. Sincerely, Jennifer Koba.
Okay, thank you. This is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Goodwin. All right. So at this time, let's go to petitions. There is no petitions. And now our response to public comment.
President Dominguez, this is
Yes.
Councilor Burke.
Yes.
I spoke to a constituent who I believe is on the line
Okay.
who thought that she had signed up for public comment, Mirna Martinez, and so I just wondered if there was a hiccup or.
Hold on, let me see. Because Jenny usually sends me, and all I have right now is those 2 names, but hold on. Did Myrna, did you send that to Jenny? Okay. Did
That's
you,
the one that came in late after I sent you the
okay.
list.
All right, so yeah, the thing is that came in after the time, and we have made
I did not
Understood.
see that in the list that was given in the agenda. In the first paragraph, it said this is what to link to. It did not give me I did not see a time. It's regarding an agenda item that the mayor has put on the, a last minute thing that he put on the agenda, if you don't mind.
Okay, so this is President Dominguez. What I'm gonna do is I'm gonna allow it, but just for future reference,
Yeah.
it's 15 minutes prior to the meeting.
Thank you. I heard you
6:45
say
PM.
that at the beginning of the meeting. Unfortunately, it was a little late, so I'm sorry.
That's
So
all
thank
right.
you
Go
very
ahead.
much,
Well,
President
let me
Dominguez.
just, before you start, hold on. You're gonna be timed 3 minutes, just usual, and then
Great.
you'll get the 1 minute warning from City Clerk Ayala. So go ahead.
Thank you.
welcome.
Myrna Martinez, 19 Prospect Street. I am currently chairing the Education Committee for the Long-Term Recovery Team, and this is why our Long-Term Recovery Committee, and this is what I'm here speaking in regards to. The committee is tasked with finding finding gaps in times of emergencies such as we currently are in this pandemic. And the Education Committee has noted the difficulties right now for many of our community members has to do with the schools, notably have to abide by the regulations and the stipulations of distancing with the students, and so therefore they're not in school full time in order to be able to give students space and not have everyone in there at the same time. The problem that it creates, though, is that many of our families do not have internet service. Many of our families do not have not been able to plan for daycare, do not have the extra resources for daycare in many communities, or do not know how to help their children online, don't have the resources to help their children while they're at home and don't have the access to a teacher. Many families or communities with more resources have created what people have been calling education pods or education hubs. And what they are is a location with a select group of students. And I say select just in order to try to comply with the distancing, the safety measures. At times they hire teachers, they hire people to be with a select group of students so that they have the opportunity, the location, the internet service, the help, the childcare to be able to be attending to the education and also the economics of the municipality while families are working and we're in this extraordinary situation. So what the Education Committee has identified is a need for New London Education Hub Collaborative. So in other words, an effort
1 minute.
to be able to, yes, an effort to be able to increase the efforts that certain organizations are already doing and other organizations like Mitchell College would like to be able to help and expand and provide their students. So we've been working on this initiative. I'm sorry to try to give you this rushed version, but I know that in your documents you have a draft proposal. We met with representatives from FEMA, and the mayor is proposing that there is an allocation from the CDBG grant to go into this initiative, and it'd be really helpful for our community. I'd really appreciate if you'd all consider that. Thank you.
Yeah, this is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Marina, for your comments tonight.
Thank you for letting me speak.
You're welcome. All right, so at this time, I am going to proceed on to response to public comment. Councilor Goodwin, go ahead.
Alrighty, so first I'll start with Ms. Martinez. One, thank you. Sorry, 3 minutes is just not a suffice amount of time, especially given the nature of your public comment. But I also just wanted to note that you are part of the long-term committee. So should conversation regarding that specific CAM come up later, let's make sure that we reach out to Myrna and leverage her insight in terms of her direction from the long-term committee as it relates directly to that CAM. So thank you for at least giving us 3 minutes of your time so that we could better understand that proposal. To Ms. Koba, I'm not sure if she's on the line, but I read through her public comment. I agree in terms of I'm hoping the administration and the police look into the issues regarding gatherings around convenience stores. She brings up some fairly good points in terms of some increased activity that have led to fatal shootings and fights, etc. So I definitely think it warrants a response and or a conversation from the administration, because these are, our younger generation who go on to stay here, live here, and raise their children here, who are echoing concerns that seem to be compounding. Whether they're being addressed or not, I think it's important that the community knows that they are being addressed. And if they're not, I think it's definitely something that we should look into with a clearer and new lens. To Mia, my apologies as chair for the council subcommittee of economic development, that you've been having some troubles and or stifled events leading to your proposal. I can assure you that I will follow up to make sure that you are at the very least heard. I cannot control the outcomes in terms of city businesses as it relates to what you're proposing, but I can definitely make sure that as a resident, as a business person, that you are aided and heard and given some next steps in terms of what's next for you to make sure that you can either put in a bid, apply for grants, or have that, small business resources. So again, my apologies that that was your experience. And I will make sure that, someone returns either a call or a phone call, and I'll follow up myself. Thank you.
Okay. President Dominguez speaking. At this time, is there any other counselor? Councilor Booker. No. Councilor Dice.
This Councilor Dice, first of all, I just want to say, I do appreciate how our community is coming and bringing issues before council. So I just want to continue, I hope our citizens continue to do that. And Jennifer Copa brought up some really key things, looking at trends, to see when it's a collective group of people out or, hanging out at the gas station. So I hope that we will look into that, the police department look into that, just to follow what is going on and the time frame, because we want our business owners to feel safe and we want our people in the community to be safe. So I just think that I appreciate her submitting a letter to let us know about her concern in the community. I also want to say, hopefully Timor, who shared her, let's say, dislike of not being looked at as a business owner here in community and not being heard. I hope that Councilor Goodwin, bringing it up, that you will look into this matter. So also, I'm appreciative that that Myrna had an opportunity to share about the learning pods, and I can't wait to hear more about it. And I really appreciate how our community look at an issue and make a decision to make changes or to support. So this Councilor Dyson, thank you.
President Dominguez, thank you, Councilor Dice. At this time, any other councilor that wishes to speak at this time to respond to public comment? All right, I want to thank then each of the of those that spoke tonight. Myrna Martinez, I know you'll stay on. Eventually, we're going to call out that cam and we'll be asking you a few more questions. All right, again, thank you, Mia Moore, and thank you everyone else that participated tonight. Okay. All right, so we'll move on at this time. Let's go into reports and communications. All right, the Director of Law. Does anybody have any questions for Attorney Londrigan? Any questions for Attorney Londrigan? Okay, there's none. All right, at this time, Council Committee reports. Any Council Committee reports? Okay, there's none. And let's move now to the Mayor's Office of Communications. Mayor Passero, you're on, sir.
Thank you, President Dominguez. Good evening, city councilors, staff, and members of the community. So the last meeting, at the beginning, we recognized the chairman of our Board of Zoning Appeals, Ian Keating. And this meeting, I have the unfortunate task of informing you that Ms. Keating did pass in the last week or so, and we'd like to recognize her once again for her service and her sacrifice to the city. She was really a wonderful lady. There was a great write-up in the day paper. So we thank Anne, her husband Larry, and the whole family for sharing Anne with us. There's also, we're trying to get news. If you recall, councilors, you deferred the property tax and personal property tax and motor vehicle tax payments that would normally be due July 1st and delinquent as of August 1st. Those deadlines were deferred until October 1st. So effectively what that means is, as long as the taxes are paid by October 1st, there's no interest or penalties. We're trying to get the word out to our taxpayers who may have taken advantage of that deferral, that it's very important that you get your payment in by the new deadline of October 1st, because if you miss that deadline, the interest is due on all the months that the taxes were deferred. And the interest is 15% annually. So it's, I think I got that right. Attorney Londrigan can correct me if I'm wrong. So, you know, that would be a significant amount of interest. So we want to caution everybody about that. And also under the law, we, you know, a municipality would not have the opportunity, would not have an ability to waive that. So we have a posting on Facebook and we need to get that word out. Hopefully they'll have a press release in the paper also about that. I want to give a shout out and a thank you to the organizers of the Halfway to St. Patrick's Day Parade, which took place on Sunday. It was a fun event. For the residents who knew about it, they were out on the sidewalks, in their lawn chairs, waiting for the parade to go by. It was a parade of motor vehicles. Everything was perfectly safe and consistent with the COVID protocols. For all the people around town that were just sort of caught by surprise, you could see the joy in their eyes to see a fun event like that. It's a great participation and a good deal of community spirit that went into that. So we thank Barbara Neff and the organizers of that event for that. And so some of the counselors there. We had a meeting with our rating agencies last week. If you recall, we did get Fitch raised the rating less than a year ago. This meeting was with Standard & Poor's. We really did well in the meeting, but I'm not holding up much hope. Of course, we haven't got the results yet, but I'm not holding up much hope that we're going to get our rating up again. And the good news is, though, they really were pleased with the success of the city, our financial policies, our financial soundness, the development that's coming. The city is doing really well. They are not that comfortable with the state of Connecticut right now. And of course, we do get a lot of intergovernmental revenue from the state of Connecticut, and all the rumblings about the state budget being in a serious deficit and cuts up there. That's not going to reflect well on any municipality. So we may have to weather that storm for a bit, but we'll keep working hard and developing our own financial independence. Congressman Courtney was in town today, and he brought with him David Tile. He is the Region 1 Administrator for the Federal Housing and Urban Development Agency, otherwise known as HUD. And he was here. Congressman Courtney picked out 3 cities in his district to showcase, New London being one of them, because we have received, as you know, almost $515,000 of emergency CDBG money, which was already appropriated, and we've got it out there working for us in the community. And we just received $357,000 of additional emergency CDBG money, which is on your agenda tonight. And the congressman wanted to show off New London the efforts that we did with the previous allocation, and we were able to explain the plans we have for the additional appropriation, and how it can help our community, help our economy recover, and bring assistance to our residents. So that was a proud moment. We met him down at the Homeless Hospitality Center. He was able to meet the staff there. For those of you who haven't caught up on that operation recently, it's doing amazing work in our city. The organization is really, we're proud to show it off, and they have contributed considerably to managing the community spread of this virus here in New London. So we probably have saved lives thanks to the work of the Homeless Hospitality Center. The Long-Term Recovery Committee continues its work, and I want to thank all the citizens that are working very hard on that. We have been engaged actively, numerous phone calls a week with FEMA. We're putting projects together, and the representatives from FEMA are working with us to find buckets of money in the appropriate federal agency to fund the projects that we are designing. One of them is we are proposing tonight that you use some of the CDBG emergency funding as the seed money to get our education learning pods underway. We do have one of them set up by the Rec Commission already operating. We want to continue to grow that program and serve our children. And you'll hear more about that later tonight. The Public Safety Policy Review Committee continues to meet. That is just an amazing group sitting in on those meetings, very thoughtfully going over our public safety policies. And we'll have a report from them very shortly. They have really been working hard at that, and I thank them for that. Also want to thank the Connecticut Maritime Heritage Festival for the annual festival that they put on last year. This is a great this group, along with many others, keeping their annual festivals alive, you know, to get us through the pandemic. Of course, it's nothing like it has been in the past, but they really did a great job putting together many virtual events and whatever live events they could do within the sector rules that the governor has put forth as far as gatherings go. But that was a nice event, and it started off with the 9/11 ceremony at the Nautilus Museum across the river. Lieutenant Governor Bisewitz came to town last week. She continues to lead our efforts to get all the citizens in the state counted in New London. She's been a great help to us. We have a really robust and ambitious complete count committee here locally, led by Dr. Fisher and his wife. We have a great partnership with Ledge Light and Jen Muggio, Jeannie Milstein, and I couldn't name all the people involved in that effort. You may have seen them around town lately in the last couple of weeks. They're doing on Saturday, they're setting up at different locations. Last Saturday, we were at Sound Community Services. Luigi's Pizza Truck is there. We're offering free lunch and getting people to that have not completed their census yet to sign up. The stakes are very high. We would appreciate everybody in this meeting tonight to check with your neighbors, get the word out. We need to count everybody in New London. Just quick math. It's about $3,000 per person per year in annual funding, so you can understand the stakes that are involved. I think I'm going to leave it there unless any of you have any questions. I'm sure I'm forgetting something, but one last bit of sort of troubling news is the confirmed COVID cases have been on the rise now for about 3 weeks. New cases in our region are starting to tick up. It's not unique to us, and we are blessed to be in a part of the country where the infection rate is already fairly low. But as the nation approaches that grim milestone of having lost 200,000 people to this disease, we have to really be vigilant. We have to keep advising our neighbors that, to wear masks, to wash their hands, to social distance, to avoid large crowds. This is really a life and death battle that we're in right now, managing this virus. And we really need to continue to do as well as we have in southeastern Connecticut and in the city of New London. We don't want to go backwards. We don't want to see any kind of shutdowns or stay-at-home orders. We don't want our schools affected, and we don't want our healthcare system overwhelmed again. So, the lesson we've learned and the advice that's that we're getting is wear the masks and distance yourself from other people. And we can manage this virus until the scientists come up with a vaccine to solve this problem. So I'll end on that note. Happy to take any questions.
Okay. Any questions for the mayor? This is President Dominguez speaking. Okay. All right. Thank you, Mayor, for your report tonight. Greatly appreciated. All right. At this time, I'm going to call on President Pro Temp Nartatis. Consent agenda, please.
This is President Pro Temp Nartatis. The consent agenda proposals set forth at the regular meeting for September 21st, 2020 are either 1, accepted for the record, 2, referred to committee named, 3, waived from committee to be acted upon as proposed, or 4, consented to as proposed.
Can I get a second? President Dominguez speaking.
Second, Counselor Goodwin.
Thank you, Councilor Goodwin. This is President Dominguez speaking. Okay, at this time, I'm going to read off the list. Make sure, councilors, if you're going to pull it, make sure you let me know and, of course, state your name. All right. So let's begin. 7.0 unfinished business, 7.1A, B, C, D, E, F, G. Okay, 8.0 new business, 8.1, 8.2, 8.3.
Pull.
Okay, that is Councilor Goodwin. All right. And now 9.0, no appointments, 10.0 executive session, 11.0. Okay, that's adjournment. So at this time, I'm going to call on President Pro Temp Nartatis.
This is President Pro Temp Nartatis. All items having the unanimous support of the City Council are hereby adopted with a single roll call vote. The motions are seconded, the chair calls the roll, and the chair declares the motions to be unanimously voted and adopted.
Okay. Thank you. Is there a second there?
Counselor Dice.
John Sadi, second.
Thank you, Councilor Dice, for seconding it. At this time, I'm going to call City Clerk Ayala. Go ahead.
Thank you, City Clerk Jonathan Ayala. Councilor Goodwin,
Yes.
Councilor Booker Jr.,
Yes.
President Pro Temp Nartatis,
Yes.
Councilor Sadai,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
President Dominguez,
Yes.
Councilor Dice,
Yes.
7 yes.
Okay. Thank you very much. At this time, I'm going to call on, make sure, please move to Cam, and then you can proceed. Councilor Goodwin, 8.3.
8.3. I move to substitute the following language for CAM 8.3 with the following CAM. The City Council approves Ordinance 09-21-20-01 in the amount of $357,031 from the CARES Act grant funded by the U.S. Department of Housing and Urban Development to help low-income populations respond to the COVID-10 crisis. These funds will be used for eviction prevention and business incentives through programs to support setting up distance learning pods to allow parents to maintain their work schedule and to provide direct assistance to support families, small businesses, and landlords. The ordinance is given its first and second readings in the process of passage by title only, all councilors having copies, and the third reading of the subject ordinance is adopted by roll call vote. Furthermore, the City Council declares this appropriation to be an emergency measure to address an urgent public need to quickly distribute these funds to those permanently impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic.
Counselor Dice seconded.
Okay. At this time, we're going to ask for Myrna Martinez, who's here. And I believe that we're going to have questions for her. And I know that Felix Reyes is here also, the Office of Development and Planning, and Tom Bombi, I believe I saw. So first, councilors who desire to ask a question. Okay, Councilor, I see Councilor Sadi. Go ahead, sir, you have the floor.
Thank you. So a little bit mixed up on what this CAM is. Originally, we received backup information under 8.3, page 1, that talked about appropriations to rental, occasional payroll, fringe benefits, other purchase services, 52,000, office supplies, 30,000, other supplies, cleaning, 40,000. And I want to back up. So rental was 90,000, occasional payroll, 134,000, fringe benefits, 10,000. And then I read the other three. We then received backup from the mayor's office that pretty much dealt with educational pods, learning pods. So I guess I'm trying to figure out whether or not the money that we're spending is being spent to help people being evicted, or whether it's being spent to help children to better cope with the learning because they're out of school 2 days a week. So I think it's actually through you, Council President, to the mayor's office.
So let me, through you, Mr. President, if I might.
Yep.
Thank you.
You may.
So this is $357,000 of emergency funding. And the proposal, which has really, the reason has been, we put a placeholder in the agenda to make the agenda deadline because it was only just before the agenda deadline that we received news of the grant. And then it's taken us the following week to put together the programs. And there's been a number of people working on this because the programs cover 3 separate areas. So what we are proposing is that the money be, if you remember the last money, we separated into 3 buckets. A very small bucket in reserve to cover the city's overhead costs if it is not all reimbursed by FEMA or the state of Connecticut. The other 2 budgets, the major portion of the funding was split up between economic development and human services. And there were 2 very robust programs that enabled us to get that money out to our community very quickly through RFP processes and application processes. I'm shortening this story. This time we're proposing also a 3-bucket method to distribute the money. The first bucket would be to support what you'll be hearing more about, these education learning sites, or called pods, for our children who do not have locations for their distance learning for the 3 days a week that they are not going to school. The second pod would be to support our businesses. So our businesses also do not suffer from this economic downturn that's been brought on and risk losing their spaces. So that's also related to evictions and to helping businesses reestablish themselves. And the third bucket, which Jeannie Milstein is on the call to speak about, will be direct rental assistance, which would go to the landlords to keep their tenants in their housing units if they risk eviction. This program is going to go quickly through an RFP to find a nonprofit partner who knows the community, the landlords, and the tenants, and will be able to vet the most desperate needs. This is what we believe, with the moratorium on rental assistance starting to wind down. We have both landlords in desperate need of revenue and tenants who risk losing their homes because they have not been able to keep up with the rent. So it's the 3-bucket theory. It's very similar, Councilor Sadai, to the distribution of the money, or it's different distributions, but the process that we're following is the same, and we hope to repeat the success that we had earlier in the pandemic. I hope I answered your question.
You did, with the exception of what dollars are allocated to each one?
That's in the so the appropriation ordinance has the expenses. If you look at the appropriation ordinance, the revised ones that was emailed to you, the first 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 numbers are related to the educational pods. The next 2, new business assistance and small business loans, are the 2 amounts of money going to the economic development managed money, and the final $90,000 is the bucket of money to assist with the anti-prevention effort directly to the to assist tenants by paying rent to landlords. Now, the first money is broken out separately because that's the most complicated, complex program that we're setting up to run these education pods. So those first.
And again, when you say it's the money.
Now, if you want to total those numbers, the totals are in the memo. So the $180,000 goes for the education piece, $87,000 goes for the economic development managed money, and $90,000 go for the direct housing and rental assistance. That's in the memo from Tom Bombrio. And it's split out in the appropriation ordinance under the different line items.
Thank you.
Right. President Dominguez speaking. Are you all set, Sadi? Councilor Sadi?
I am set at this point in time. Thank you for the opportunity to ask those questions.
You're more than welcome, Councilor. All right, this time I'm gonna thank you for Councilor Goodwin. Go ahead, sir.
Through you to, is the finance director on?
Mhm.
To our finance director, for these allocations of money, are we earmarking them based on the numbers the mayor just gave us, which is the 190 followed by the 87? Are we specifically earmarking that money? What money? So if I'm following it as a counselor, where do I follow the money to directly that we have appropriated it? And what line items? Because we have a couple of different things. We have 3 buckets, and then we have the actual line items that say for payroll or that say for this. What am I actually? What is the guideline that I'm following in terms of us voting on this CAM?
Certainly, this is Director McBride. Can you hear me?
Yes.
Yes. So as the mayor indicated, there's 3 buckets of funds. One is 180,031. One is 87,000, one is 90,000. The way we properly allocate things from a budget standpoint for the $180,000 is we need to earmark individual line item accounts. And the reason for that is we need to record salary expense under a certain line item that you'll see as the occasional payroll. We then also need to record FICA, which is a 7.65 taxes under a separate budgetary line item. Then we also need to allocate office supplies as a different budgeted line item, and some cleaning supplies, and also rental. So we set up those accounts specifically to be able to report back to you, because as you would have seen, hopefully in the budget information that we distributed to you today or yesterday, we allocate things per line item depending upon the account. So the more detail we can put things into the buckets, the more we can report back out to you.
Thank you, sir.
But in summary,
So what happens in the interest that you decide that you are $2,000 short on the occasional payroll? Are you able to just go in and take it from somewhere else, or does that require council approval?
No, we would need to come back to council for any change, just like we do now. We do, whether it's a mayor's transfer, and we provide them to you via a copy in the council package, or we come back to you for an appropriation if necessary, if it's outside the department to department.
Thank you, sir. Through you, Council President, to the mayor. Based on what I'm hearing, it sounds like we don't have enough money to cover the needs that our community have. That's a given. So I'm excited that you guys are working diligently to figure out what's the best need, given the loopholes that we have in our community. My concern is, if we earmark it specifically like this, does this leave you any wiggle room should the plans change? Because as we know, COVID changes, the rules may change in a few months in terms of long distance to going back to school. Does this give you the wiggle room necessary to be, I guess, agile to keep up with the demands and or changes as your group determines what the needs are? Because I'm sure this, we've never done this before, so it could change.
Yes, yeah, exactly. And it's a good question. Just a little background. The reason there's so many separate line items for the educational proposal, for the education pod proposal, is we actually have to hire employees. And that's exactly what the rec department did. Now, these may not be city employees, but that's what the rec department did in order to run the program. The first program has been set up down the beach. We hope to model that and set up other programs, but we have a lot of work to do. And so that's why the lion's share of this is being put towards that program. We do not expect that that money will be enough to cover this. So we'll be working with the Long-Term Recovery Committee to seek other donations. We have a fiduciary set up with the Community Foundation of Eastern Connecticut. We are going to be collecting donations from foundations, banks, and individuals. And also we're going to be looking for other emergency government funding to support this very critical need in our city. But this shows you how we have to, it's more complicated, so we have to set up those separate budgetary line items, whereas the other two programs, don't involve that type of complexity. It's a matter of getting this money out onto the street as we did previously. So theoretically, to answer your question directly, say schools go back full time, there's some miracle, and we don't need to continue the education, but then that money would not be able to be spent without coming back to you because you'd have to reappropriate it for another purpose. We fully expect that it will be more than exhausted trying to fulfill this particular need. But if for some reason the situation in the schools changed and the need for these learning pods somehow did not continue, then that money, we would come back to you and we would ask you to reappropriate it for some other qualifying purpose under this HUD program.
Thank you. That answers my questions. I guess the only comment I would have is one, again, the need outweighs how much money we have here. So I don't want to get too particular and tie you guys up from trying to solve the needs that we do have. But I will say, I would love that each of these three buckets within 2 weeks kind of report back to the council, giving us an overview of where you're at and or the accounting and where you foresee things going at the very least, so that we can follow the dollars and make sure that our residents have the needs that they are met. But I think that's all for me for right now. Thanks.
Thank you.
This is President Dominguez speaking. For the record, that prior conversation was between Mayor Michael Passo and also Councilor Goodwin. All right, just a reminder, gentle reminder, just always forget, that happens to me too, just to state who you are and vice versa, okay? So thank you. Any other councilor that has a question right now? All right, I do have a question. Oh, go ahead. You know what, Councilor Dice, go ahead. I'm gonna allow you, go ahead.
This is Councilor Dice, and I just wanted to clarify something and make sure I understand before I ask the question. It was mentioned about supporting the children with their academics, but it's also childcare. We need to allow our parents to continue to work. And if they're not in school 3 days a week, and our parents work 5 days a week, to make sure that our community is still back working. So I just want to put that out there. And my question is, Jeannie Milstein, is she on the line? My question is to her, through you, Mr. President, through to Jeannie.
Hi, I'm here.
Okay. Perfect. So my question is that I had the opportunity to listen to two landlords speak this past week at our meeting. And one of the things that they were concerned about is that people was getting support or they were concerned that the landlords wasn't getting support and not able to take care of their taxes and stuff. And I would like to know, how will the city handle that? Because you have some people not able to pay rent, landlords not getting money so they can pay their taxes. How do you see this being a help for our community?
Well, we have two goals with this money. One is to prevent people from entering into homelessness, and two is to make landlords whole. We want to provide landlords with rental assistance. We have an initiative now in New London that the Homeless Hospitality Center administers. So the money would go directly to landlords whose tenants have been impacted by COVID. And, as you said, Councilor Dice, these are small landlords in our community. And if they're not able to pay taxes, if they're not able to pay their mortgages, then we lose them. And we will have even more people who are homeless. And, the numbers are staggering, that people calling our helpline. Almost 25% of our calls are regarding rent and rental assistance. Prior to COVID, I'm just looking at my data, we had 100 and 2 evictions in 2019, and that was long before COVID. So again, this is about preventing homelessness, making landlords whole, and we can't have a crash in our housing market.
This is Counselor Dice. Thank you so much.
Thank you. This is President Dominguez speaking. Thank you, Councilor Dice and Human Director Jeannie Milstein. At this time, I'm going to ask some questions. Two, not sure. I'll go with Director Reyes. Director Reyes, my question is, all right, I read it. Maybe I missed it. Is this going to be how long is this going to last for the learning pods? Are we doing this, like, depending if it continues, will it be all year long?
Well, I would love to say I'm an education expert and be able to answer that question. I like to stay in my lane. This is one of those things I would probably pass on either to Myrna or the mayor. But yeah, I apologize. I don't know enough about the long-term sustainability about the program to answer the question.
All right, let me go. Thank you. Let me go to Myrna Martinez then. Myrna, because the thing is, I'm curious to find out, because I know, first of all, I'd like to know how many learning pods and where they're going to be located. And then the other question is, about, how long are we planning to, I mean, I know it depends about COVID-19 if it continues, which it seems like, but go ahead.
Yeah, so that's the biggest factor unknown that everyone is trying to figure out, and that's keeping so many of us on our toes that have any connection with education and other things. I mean, it's not just children, it's their parents, it's grandparents, it's all of these, it's a chain reaction of all of those of us who are impacted by it, but we don't know. I mean, obviously the regulations are coming from not within the municipality, and so not within the school district. It's coming from the state and it's coming from the CDC as far as compliance. And none of us alive have lived through another pandemic such as this. So we don't know, but I can tell you that the predictions that I've heard, including recently I attended a meeting with Dr. Clouet, who is an advisor to the Commissioner of the State of Education. And he said that he was really happy that there is an opportunity for students to have some brick and mortar experiences right now, because he predicted, with everything else that he's been seeing, that we will end up going into a complete shutdown again. I mean, the predictions are that in late fall and in winter, unfortunately no one knows, but those are the predictions that are being made. And so the expectations are, and I think we need to, and that's the whole purpose, is that we're doing long-term planning, that we have everything in place in case. I mean, obviously we would have loved to have this done yesterday, but right now, tomorrow is better than never, that we give opportunities for our children and our families to be able to get through this with as much resources, support as possible. I think there was another portion of your question.
Yeah, the learning pods. How many do?
Oh, the locations.
Yes, and how many?
So we've got different organizations that we've been working with and talking to, and just kind of in asking them what is it that they have available and what is it that they would need in order to increase the services. What we know is that in the and obviously we've had representatives from the New London Public Schools and other institutions as well, early childhood, higher education, individual organizations, separate nonprofits working with us and sharing the needs from all of those different areas. We have the Drop-In Learning Center. We have, and I think the Drop-In Learning Center is the only one that I can remember right now that's actually working with middle school students. The data that we've gotten from Jen Papelli, I think is her last name. She's the curriculum person for the New London Public Schools for the K-5, is that I believe the hybrid students, because we're not really worrying about students that have elected to, it's something that we're not worrying about, but in order to try to hone in on a specific population, the children or the families that have decided to do full distance learning, because that means that probably they have a certain ability if they've elected that. We're looking at hybrid students. Just in K-5, I believe there's 1,400 students, and that's just K-5. That does not mean, obviously, that a sixth grader who's 11 years old is ready to be at home and deal with their learning and their childcare and their food and all of that on their own. So the need is really great. There's many organizations, the Drop-In Learning Center who's already doing some, the Park and Rec that's already doing some. BP Learn It from Child and Family. They've got 2 sections open. They have another classroom, but they don't have the resources to open a full other section. We've got NEST, we've got many organizations that are already providing some services, but there's a limited capacity, and we want to work with them in order to be able to increase the capacity so that more of our families are able to jump in. Communication is another piece of it that we need. We need this coordinated so that there's communication with the schools, with the organizations, with the families, and so on.
Thank you. This is President Dominguez speaking. Just the only thing is that I'm hearing a lot of it, but a lot of these organizations that are interested, and I think you said NEST. I don't know where their building is at or wherever they're going to be facilitating, but I'm looking forward to more around this area where Crystal Avenue, State Pier, the children that live in this area, my neighborhood, my community, my district.
Right. Well, NEST does do some programming in New London as well, and so part of it, like Councilor Dice was saying, that it is aid with their schooling, and it is also childcare. So if you think of a regular school day, as you well know, Councilor Dominguez, that there is the sitting down and the specific academics, and there's also all the transitional pieces and the ability to get up and have lunch and have gym class and all of that actually gets your body moving and ready for learning. And so when students are at these other organizations, there's going to be a portion of it that's other educational or activities that they're going to be doing, and it's going to be different depending on what those organizations, what they can provide. So NEST is obviously going to be someplace near the water, but there's different organizations providing different pieces and that are better fits for different families, such as ours that they have available.
Okay. Thank you for now. That's all. Thank you very much, President Dominguez. Thank you, Myrna. All right. Any other counselor? Councilor Goodwin.
Yeah, I wanted to piggyback off of that conversation through you, Council President, Ms. Martinez. 2 things. So you guys had just left off on NEST, trying to better understand how NEST fits into Tacoma. I get the extracurricular activities, but I would understand that I would think the necessity is on learning and or providing parents with an option to provide their kids somewhere safe to be, as opposed to gym, let's just say.
Right. What I'm saying is that each of these organizations, for example, the Park and Rec, let's say they normally have karate classes or yoga, whatever programs that they may offer, they will be the primary function, while they're also getting the childcare for families, will be getting their academics done. So having somebody there who can ensure that they're getting it done and they're helping them through the pieces that they need. But a student is not going to be sitting at a computer from 8 a.m. to 2:30 p.m. Let's say it's important for any of us to be able to get up and do other things. And so depending on the organization, there's supplementary types of activities that they partake in. And so that's where that came in. It was just one example of many.
Would it be safe to say that the experience for child A could be different from the experience of child B if they're at 2 separate organizations?
Absolutely.
So the experience will not be the same.
Right. And I think even within the an organization, you're going to have children that are working through their work quicker than others. And so it's also about managing the group of students, is helping them. What do we do at this point when student A is done by 11:30 a.m. with certain work, and student B, like, what do you do with the supplementary pieces, which is a part that organizations are also looking at. How do we supplement and engage students throughout the day?
Got it. Not sure if this is you or the mayor, in terms of the funding allocated for the salary component, what was the rationale behind the $96,900 for occasional payroll?
Well, we have, and Myrna can jump in too, but we're just jumping off of the experience of the rec department, just setting up the one learning center at the beach. So you just have a number of staff that you need to supervise the children and the cost of the payroll.
That's not one person though, correct?
No, no. That's all we have for the staff for the whole.
Thank you.
And we're not exactly sure how we're going to use that yet. Perhaps by subsidizing staff from from agencies that we'll partner with to do this work. Once we get this seed funding, then we'll be able to really move further along in setting up the program, and we'll be working closely with the Long-Term Recovery Committee on this, Jeannie Milstein, and our rec department, which already has the first one of these experiments set up.
Got it. That answered my question. Thank you for that. Clarifying that covers multiple different positions. My only last bit of feedback or critique would be that I would focus more on the experience of the children so that we don't create inequalities, that child A gets something that child B doesn't when we're holistically looking at the different organizations, whereas the drop may provide something, the rec provides something, and child family services provides this. I would definitely look to see how we can scale a shared experience amongst our students, because all of our students right now are suffering with their parents having to walk them through the classes as being the teachers. It's not necessarily it's a self-guided tour of this education this year. So one, I'm appreciative of the efforts, but two, I want to make sure that we focus more on what are the goals. Are they to make sure that parents have access to childcare? Is it that students get help with homework, or is it, the gym, the rec, or et cetera? I would just focus on, the top components, because it's not enough money to go around. And I just get concerned with, the different inequalities that will come from divvying up the money too much to try to scale how many kids versus focusing on what pockets of kids will get a very strategic experience that is shared similarly. So that would be my only critique or feedback. But thank you, Myrna, and everyone else who answered those questions. That's all I have.
Yeah, this is President Dominguez. Thank you, Councilor Goodwin. At this time, I'm going to call on Councilor Dice.
This is Councilor Dice. I just want to share a couple of things with this. What I appreciate is the fact that all of us got together and shared what the needs are, from the breakfast, lunch, and snack to making sure that the kids are able to get on their learning instrument, whether it's a Chrome book or if it's an iPad, making sure you have staff. Now, the Drop-In Learning Center is a little bit different. This is what we do. So childcare, providing enrichment and also recreation, we serve well-rounded. So when we look for staff, just want to put it out there. That's what we do. And I know when Nest came forward and said that they were going to do this, I spoke to them, and I know that they have all those components in place. We all sat down and talked about the needs. So Councilor Goodwin, I just wanted to share that with you, because that is important. But also when we talk about sharing resource, I just want to put it out there that Solomon Schechter, that just closed a few of their classrooms in Great Neck Elementary School, donated quite a few. I'm talking about reading books for our kids to use at the various pods. Also learning instruments and games that is tactile. So you're looking at things that, so in other words, what I'm trying to say is that our community is unique, where even our surrounding community is all in this and supporting each other, which I just want to put that on record. But also, I just want to make note that I will be recusing myself from the vote. And I just want to put that on there, just because childcare is what we do. We, besides doing our childcare facility, we also ran a camp. So I know the different aspect of what's important. And this is Councilor Dice. I just want to make note of that.
Thank you. This is President Dominguez. Thank you, Councilor Dice. Point is noted and taken. You know what? I'm going to ask another question. Myrna, I'm going to ask you this question. Knowing that, I mean, you are a teacher and you've dealt with this population, we have a large English language learning population in New London. How are we reaching them? How is this going to be made available for them? I mean, I know through Fry's, but the other thing is I'm very concerned is making sure that the people that are being hired to either monitor or instruct in these learning pods are English language, I mean, are able to, speak their language, whether it's Creole, whether it's Spanish, or whether, we have so many languages. So is that being considered?
Well, so thank you. As you probably know, Councilor Dominguez, I am a dual language teacher in particular, so I'm very well aware of those needs in our community. Well, what I think an important piece here is that so far this has been coming together. We are almost in an advisory group, a volunteer group of people, which has been an amazing group in the education committee. I'm so grateful for the people that have joined. And we put together, and those are needs that we've identified, but what we really need here is a coordinator to put all these pieces together. And yes, those are one of the recommendations that of course we'd be putting together. We've also identified undocumented community and families who don't have the literacy levels to be able to attend to educational needs when they're the ones guiding a lot of it at home. And so you're absolutely right. That's something that we will hope to pass on to the coordinator. I do want to say that if for those of you, and I don't know who would not know Val Tamano, I did reach out to her and she's not available to actually be the coordinator, but she said she would like to be an advisor in helping select or guide the person. And I think that's a huge plus. And when she was working for the New London Public Schools, actually, she said that she was working on an emergency system to have in place in cases, maybe not a pandemic, but in urgent situations for the districts. And so I think she'll be a great guide for us all as we try to put this together. The mayor has said again and again that we are I think creating the plane, building the plane as we're flying it. And so it is a tough one, but those are recommendations that we will consider. Thank you so much.
Oh, you're welcome. Mrs. President, thank you, Marina Martinez. Thank you. At this time, is there any other counselor before we take a vote? Any other counselor that wishes to ask a question? Or I think we're all set. Okay, we're all set. All right, Councilor Booker, go ahead.
To you, President Dominguez, to Jeannie Milstein.
Yes, Counselor Booker.
Yes.
Susie just texted.
If 25% of the calls for rental assistance, if you receive 25% of calls for rental assistance, you emphasize that we do not want a crash in our housing market. How is it determined who receives the aid and how much aid for rental assistance?
That's an excellent question. And that's the criteria that we actually have to develop. Because the Homeless Hospitality Center has set up some criteria, we would review that. The Health and Human Services Committee of the Long-Term Recovery Committee chaired by Shanice Austin. I spoke with Shanice earlier today. I think that's something that the subcommittee could work on, if they're open to doing that, and we could come up with some criteria. I spoke with the people from Connecticut Fair Housing today who have agreed to step in and assist us. They all understand the urgency of the situation and want to assist us rapidly so we can get this assistance to those who need it as quickly as possible.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay.
No further questions?
This is President Dominguez. Thank you, Councilor Booker, and also Human Services Director Jeannie Milstein. All right, at this time, any other counselor? All right, seeing none, we will vote, okay? This is a roll call vote, so City Clerk Ayala, please, sir.
Councilor Booker Jr.,
Yes.
Councilor Burke,
Yes.
Councilor Dice,
I think Councilor Dice said she was
Oh, yeah.
refused.
Thank you.
okay. Councilor Goodwin,
Yes.
President Dominguez,
Yes.
Councilor Sadai,
Yes.
President Pro Tem Natartez.
Yes.
That's 6 yes.
Okay, thank you very much. This is President Dominguez speaking. The motion carries. All right, this time I will entertain another motion by Councilor Burke.
Pardon me, Mr. Dominguez,
Yes.
President Dominguez,
Yes.
but I feel like we'd be remiss not to wish our president of the council a very happy birthday this evening.
That is correct.
Oh, boy. Happy birthday.
Happy birthday, sir.
Sing.
Thank I was going to say, did I miss something? Because you're usually good at that.
There we go.
Thank you, guys. I appreciate it. Thank you. It's an honor to be here with you guys on my birthday, hanging out with the best crew.
Not every day you get to turn 22 during a pandemic, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I think that's why the agenda is so short.
I love it. I love it. Thank you again, everybody. All right. Have a good night.
Enjoy your birthday.
I will.
Did we second the
There's a
motion to
motion.
close?
Oh,
Adjourn.
wait, you're right. Wait. So, all right. So let's have a second on
The birthday or the?
wait.
Counselor Sap makes a motion to adjourn.
Second,
Second.
Counselor
right.
Dice.
All right. All those in favor?
Aye.
All those opposed, nay. Thank you guys. Appreciate it. The next
Aye.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.